six senses, not just five. Our kinesthetic sense allows us to feel muscular freedom through balance. Are we remembering to feel the front of our shins this morning? Are you feeling the weight delivered into the rainbow arches? Feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. What a crazy morning. Congratulations on coming through. I want to thank you for coming through. As we stretch our self-awareness like a muscle, whether you are on D Live or not Twitch today, but YouTube as well. No Twitch today. There has been some issues with the stream keys because the world is going bonkers right now. We will be fixing that in the time coming, but for now we are only on D Live and YouTube for now, but that is alright, as we are always avoiding the fear of death, of opportunities we've created in our heads, but always loving life for what it is right here and now, for what it is around us. And for what it is around us, maybe we will be learning some lessons today. Maybe it will be giving us an opportunity to give YouTube a little bit more love, the tools on YouTube. So I want to thank you for coming through as we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle today. Not really doing much, but feeling so great. And feeling so rewarded on the inside out of that body of ours. Just by moving our self-awareness around a little bit. Not really doing much. Waking the worlds up physically, mentally, spiritually, and then physically again. Why? To feel better objectively. How do you feel better objectively? With the help of your only no-nonsense podcast. Brought to you through the Best Feeling Network. And the help of your own body, baby. From the inside out. My name is Herbie. Good morning, everyone. This is absolutely Pow Go On. How art thou? As we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle every weekday morning, how art thou? As we are realizing that it is 6:13 a.m. on Thursday, October 2021. Are we ready to get supercharged on this Truth Hurts Day? It is Thursday, October 7th, 2021, meaning it is another Truth Hurts Day. As we are always breaking down misconceptions brought onto us by ourselves and society and the world at large. Every weekday morning on Pow Go On. Today we are attacking the truths, specifically the truths that hurt, but perhaps they hurt so good here on Pow Go On. As we're stretching our self-awareness, I invite you to hold your controller properly with me in this simulation in 3D of ours, in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath. Did you know? Excuse me, hello. You have a moment of your time. Can I have a moment of your time? Did you know that you die every 5 minutes in this simulation that we live in? You die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every breath that you take. So in this simulation of ours, I invite you now to hold your controller properly with all of us here today. By pretending there is a candle in front of not just your lips, flickering in front of your lips, but there is a candle flickering in front of the lips of everyone here. And each one of us are holding this candle in front of our lips, in our awareness, in our imagination, in our mind's eye, or whatever. We are there is a candle in front of our lips that we are trying to not put out. We're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling as we are all holding this controller properly together in this simulation of ours. We are not thinking about exhaling. We are not thinking about inhaling, only simply placing a candle into our awareness in front of our lips. We are trying to put out. And allowing the body to move in whatever way the body wants to move, or simply observe whether your body gives yourself permission to move or not. Simply an observation oftentimes is enough. As we are observing a candle in front of our lips, and not just our lips, but in front of everyone's lips, in front of every human being's lips in which we are becoming aware of. We're becoming aware that the tip of the tongues wants to be anchored. All of the tips of our tongues want to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And notice how forward of the body that feels. I invite you and I challenge you to feel how frontwards of the body that feels, to remember that the tip of our tongues want to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And if you would with me, please simply become aware of how frontwards of the body that feels, as we are also remembering there is a candle in front of everyone's lips that is just flickering there, and they are trying to not put it out, including my lips that you're seeing here. There is a candle now there just flickering, and it's just flickering there in front of your lips, and everyone's lips that you become aware of, whether you are in a crowd, whether you are all alone, whether you're with a partner, a husband, a wife, whether you are with your parents or grandmother or father, there is a candle now flickering in front of their lips as well as your lips. And each individual is trying to not put their candle out. And they're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling. Simply the awareness and observation of a candle in front of not just theirs, but everyone's lips. And they're trying to not put out. And don't just take my word for it. How does that feel for you? How does it feel for you to remind yourself that the tips of everyone's tongues also want to be anchored to the back of the bottom front of their teeth? Always, always, no matter what. Whether you are in a crowd, whether you are underground, whether you are sitting up, or whether you are sitting down. I challenge you to remember that the back 1/3 of your tongue wants to be vertical, up and down. Up and down. Say it with me, even if it's just in your head. The back 1/3 of everyone's tongues is vertical. Say it with me. Up and down, up and down. Even if it's just in your head, one more time, say it with me. The back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical. Up and down, up and down. How does that feel for you? Whether you are in a car or whether you are sitting outside at a park, whether it's kind of sunny outside or whether it's dark, I invite you to ask yourself, even if it's just in your head, am I remembering that the back 1/3 of my tongue is, say it with me, vertical, up and down, up and down. Again, say it with me, up and down, up and down. We might be talking about something today that might not even require an entire episode today. Not about racism. Racism everywhere today. On the Truth Hurts today especially, it is 6:20 a.m. on Pal Go On. Whether you are out there eating food, whether you are out there in a VOD, or whether you're out there watching us live, whether you're preparing food for yourself or whether you're preparing food for somebody else out there in your life. We'll be back right after the short break to talk about something fairly simple. Racism. What to do about this racism thing. Does racism exist? What is racism? How do we get over this spirit of racism? Seems like it will always be there. It always a specter out there. This racism. What do we do about it? Should we be anti-racist, right? No one wants to be racist, though it is the most powerful label you can have these days. Should we be anti-racist in order to combat this racism, or should we be not about racism? We'll be right back. Only if you remember that the back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical. rest on your ribs, but rather float in a complex web of muscle that allows your arms to balance on top of your body. Please remember to place the weight of the body down the front of the shins and not the back of your legs. Your calves do not support your weight, but rather the front of your shins do. Please place the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you were able to calibrate with me and lock fingers with me, so to speak, in your awareness by pretending that there was a candle in front of my lips. I invite you to pretend there's a candle in front of my lips, as well as yours, that we are trying to not put out. Not each other's necessarily, but our own, but maybe each other's in the end, you know, who knows. How art thou? How are you doing? Welcome to the Truth Hurts Days. It is 6:26 a.m. We started a little bit later today. There were some problems with our connections with Twitch. We were debating over here with our producer. We were debating whether or not we were going to cancel the show, but the show must go on POW Go On. We will not be on Twitch. Unfortunately, we cannot upload to Twitch yet until we get some more subscribers, but I know one day we will get more subscribers because of you lovely supporters. Thank you so much for all of your support, for all of your inquiry, for all of your curiosity, for all of your kind words, for all of your kind words of support, and other words that mean the same thing. I hope you're doing well out there. I hope you're able to drink some water. Take care of yourself. Take care of all of your obligations. Always take care of number one first. Please allow all of these words to go in one ear and out the other. We do love Twitch, but we will miss you for today. We will see you later. Hello, D Live. Hello, YouTube. How art thou? The Truth Hurts Days. Today we will talk about a subject that maybe does not need that much time. Racism. What do you mean, Herbie? How could that take not much time? Look at all the problems that racism. Herbie, what do you mean? Foaming at the mouth. Racism. Oftentimes in life, the main issue people have is not having the wrong opinion, but rather not having the correct words as ammo against naysayers, even against themselves, against their own doubts, as their own eyes continue to question them, question their own values every day. Racism. What do you say about it? No one wants to be racist. No one wants to be labeled the most harmful label we have in this modern era. But here on the No Nonsense Podcast, brought to you through the Best Feeling Network, baby. We just need a response, a rebuttal. Just don't be about that racism stuff, you know? Don't be anti-racism. Why would we need to be anti-racism? Why would we need to be anti-racism? Well, you don't want to be racist, so I guess I'll be anti-racist. Still playing part of the war, just switching sides. Admitting by participation, not just to others, but to their own spirit, that they believe in this racism thing, that it truly is an issue. To the own human spirit. For there's nothing deeper that we can seem to see, as we were always looking outwards to see, from sea to sea, To see how we all connect, we were always looking outwards, but should we look inwards as we all have a relationship with ourselves, as we know on Pow Go On, as we are always finding our relationship stronger and stronger with ourselves as we remember and become familiar with the tips of our tongues wanting to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth and the backs of our 1/3 of our tongues being vertical, up and down, and how's that feel for you every time? Indeed, as we all do have that relationship with our own design to either help us feel more aligned or further away from the correct truth of our spine. As we all do have that relationship with the self, much closer to the self, much closer to achieving the same goal, which avoiding the label of being called a racist achieves, which is strength. Strength to lift up buildings, strength to lift up heavy things, Herbie, strength to lift up big tables and mattresses, you know how heavy those are. Strength like that. Or strength in the world to overcome suffering, to overcome needs, to overcome things that might be holding us down, to overcome internal struggles. Strength to overcome social struggles, which are survival struggles, as we are social creatures. What do we need to survive in this social jungle that is only becoming more and more inclusive yet so divisive with the internet? As in, more people have access to these social environments, but are much more likely to be ostracized and much more damaged by ostracization, as we are more and more social, as more and more included into the internet. And so social acceptance is strength, it is power, it is ability to overcome suffering, which may be ability to get money, food, love, water, all of which need social environments, whether they be somebody working at your job, whether somebody be paying your rent, whether it's somebody being paying your paycheck, whether it be somebody giving you the food, whether it be somebody exchanging your money or creating the services that do so. We are very social creatures. Therefore, if we want strength in the world, it is wise for us to see that being social and socially accepted is one of those ways. Is one of those ways. And so it makes sense that wanting to avoid the racist label allows room for you to have the most strength in the social atmosphere in which we prioritize so much. As we know, in this world, we need society to live, for our iPhones, for our food, for our communication, entertainment. Every step of the way, there must be some person to interaction at some point. Even if it is just through a telephone line or through a computer or through text. At the end of the day, we live in a society built by society, by people. And so social acceptance by those people becomes high priority, not just in our front conscious, but our unconscious knows this as well. We are so alert to this idea. We're so alert to that fact that being socially accepted is a strength in this world in which society built. So being accepted into society is a big strength to include yourself, to have access to all the great things that society has for you. Social acceptance, avoiding the label of racism. Forgetting the label of racism will now ostracize you from the acceptance of this social group, which we have been so spoiled into believing that we need, like life or death, is social acceptance. We're just not about that racism thing. We're just about that candle thing. We're just about that thing stronger than social acceptance. Oh, social acceptance helps you overcome internal suffering like feeling like you're rejected. Social acceptance helps you deal with your abandonment issues that we've all been traumatized in this modern era to have together. Oh, social acceptance helps you handle that internal struggle of feeling less than good enough. Social acceptance allows you to deal with that internal struggle of feeling like you may one day be alone. Social acceptance helps all that. Not being labeled racist helps all of that. Your help with all of that relies on some other people and their judgment of you? Nah, I'm not about that racism thing. We're about that candle thing here. You're trying to overcome that internal suffering? Oh, that candle thing does that thing for you really quickly. That candle thing's for you right there. And it's going nowhere. That candle thing's right there for you. Don't worry about it. Oh, you're scared of being labeled racist? Because you're worried about the ability to overcome the internal struggle that social rejection is going to give you? Oh, don't worry, a candle will help you with that. And you don't need social acceptance for that. You just need a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And you just need to remember that the tip of your tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And then everybody and their mama leaves their swallowing muscles alone all the time. Consciously. You never consciously use your swallowing muscles, ever. And the back 1/3 of your tongue, vertical. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Do you need social acceptance for that? I think not, my friend. I think not, my friend. Do you need to be worried about somebody else projecting onto you and calling you a racist when actually they're the racist? Or calling you that without knowing anything about you? I think not, my friend. You think a candle cares about that? I think not, my friend. You think feeling the front of your shins cares about that? I think not, my friend. You think the fact that, say it with me, the weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Say it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. You don't want to be called racist because you don't want to be seen the wrong way, because you don't want society to see you the wrong way, because there's a lot of consequences with society seeing you the wrong way. You don't get to be accepted into social circles. You don't get to be accepted into the people that you like because society doesn't see you a certain way. So, oh, we're gonna be anti-racist. What about Uncle Racist? I mean, anti-racist. We're just not about the racist thing. We're just not about the race thing. There's a candle in front of everyone's lips. What race? What race? Aren't you going to be anti-racist? Just not about that racist thing. We're just not about that racist thing. We're just not about that race thing. Different mode. Just not about that race thing. Why did we need to look at the race thing? Was it unreasonable for us to be looking at the race thing? No. You don't think it's weird that you're looking at the race thing? It's pretty obvious why you do. It's right there in front of your eyes, and we live in our eyes, as we discussed yesterday on factions for our Warfare Wednesday, our subject of factions. We know that we live in our eyes these days. We are addicted to what our eyes can see. And so, I mean, it's not strange that we look at race and color. But why did we look at that? Because we were looking for social dynamics, as we were looking for strength in this social world. As we know, there are many types of strength, and knowledge might be one of those strengths, and knowledge of a game you might be playing in order to get the most success in life, whether that be social, moral, financial, ambitious, familial, friendly, spiritual, all types of goals. For all types of goals, we Make sure that we are privy, that we know the proper things about humans, so that we can get the best that we can. We see there's race, and so we want to treat all races equally. Because we do see a future, because we love everybody. We want to see everybody feeling good together. And we see this race thing seems to divide people. As we are trying to overcome social suffering and social problems by showing how much of a hand we have in dealing with those social problems and helping people overcome their strugglings. To overcome their strugglings from the inside out, we pretend there's a candle in front of everyone's lips. And what color is everybody if there's a candle in front of everyone's lips? I think nothing, my friend. Shouldn't you be anti-racist? What action are you taking when you are trying to be anti-racist? Trying to join along with the anti-racists and people on the correct side of this racism issue for society, for us to be accepted into the goods that society offers you. Why would you need society to help you get goods? For we have needs to feel social, to be accepted. We have needs to feel good. Why aren't you about this anti-racism thing? Because we're just not about that race thing. Because there is a candle thing which helps us do all the things that our eyes were trying to do. For example, feeling so good and feeling like we can have faith that we can handle and overcome all struggles, which feeling like a group or feeling part of a group might help you do. Feeling like you can overcome all struggles that you cannot see, feeling like a group, feeling part of a group helps. But a group united on what? I'm pretending there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. For what is this color thing? We'll be right back. We're just not about that race thing. We're more about the tip of the tongue wanting to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth thing. Be right back. when you pick up the mantle, of anti-racism, you suggest that racism is anything other than projected hatred when people are feeling bad. When people feel awful, they project awful. They try to hurt people. And so they say the most superficial things, which happen to be race. So if you are truly sincere about helping the plight of certain demographics that get unfairly prosecuted based on their quote unquote skin color, you would try to affect the pain that people feel and not the projection in which they project onto others to help themselves deal with that pain. And why do people feel pain? A physical pain. How do you make people feel better physically? You pretend there's a candle in front of their lips and everybody's lips that they're trying to not put out. And we leave the swallowing muscles alone all the time. No matter what we are doing, whether we are walking, climbing, swimming, jumping, whether we are running, whether we are speaking with somebody else, or whether we are listening to somebody else, especially when we are listening to somebody else, we remember that the tips of our tongues want to be anchored to the backs of the bottom front teeth. The back 1/3 of our tongues are vertical, up and down, up and down, up and down. As we pretend there's a candle in front of not just ours, but everybody's lips that we are each trying to not put out. We're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling. We're just trying to not put that candle out. Welcome to the second half of the show. I want to thank you for coming through. I want to thank you for joining us so far. I want to thank you for meeting us and hearing us as we challenge you to pretend there's a candle in front of not just your lips, but our lips too. Right here. It's just flickering there and you're not trying to put it out. You're trying to not put it out. As we are interlocking our fingers, so to speak, in our awareness. Putting our awareness on the same elements of the human design to feel so good and feel so great as we allow our body to deliver its weight down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the times. Though you would not be to blame to believe that your weight goes down into the tailbone, as it just looks that way, doesn't it? But in fact, the weight is delivered into these rainbow arches on both sides of that spine. And remember that we do not sit on our legs as we calibrate together, and feel the front of our shins, and simply just observe. It is okay to allow these words go in one ear and out the other as we simply observe how our body is reacting to all of these, whether it gives ourselves permission or not to act onto these instructions. When we take up the mantle of anti-racism, you know that you are doing the best, or you know that you want the best for these demographics, which you want anti-racism for. And why do you want anti-racism? Because you want the best for these different races, right? You love these races, so you want the best for them. So that's why you chose this mantle of anti-racism. You want to battle what is tyrannizing, or you want to fight against what is oppressing these different races. Why? Because you want the best for these races. Do we not all have the same spirit of wanting the best for everybody, wanting the best for all of these races? So when you take up the mantle for anti-racist, aren't you suggesting that the strongest force against them reaching their best is racism, as we know that you want the best for them? So you take up the mantle against the strongest force against them. So you suggest that the best for them is this anti-racism idea. That the strongest force is racism, a projection of hatred. You suggest that that racism itself is anything but a projection of hatred when somebody is in pain. And when we are in pain, do we not try to hurt the person who is, or the people around us? People in access, we have access to. When we are in pain, do we not try to hurt the people we have access to? And when we try to hurt the people we have access to, do we not mention the most superficial, far from the core characteristics about somebody to make them feel less than human? When we are in pain, do we not project that pain onto others by trying to hurt people with the most superficial insults that we can? When we take up the mantle of anti-racism, do we not suggest that racism is the biggest offense against these races? And don't then we suggest that, or isn't then racism itself, aren't we then suggesting that racism is anything but a projection of pain when people are in pain? Aren't we shallow when we are in pain and we are trying to hurt others? I know that we want the best for all these races, so if we want the best for all these races, shouldn't we be looking more at the source of the pain and healing the pain rather than the projection that is caused when people are in pain? So how do we prevent and heal that pain? How do we deal with that pain? Well, why are people in pain? Why are people in pain? No connection to God. Not this sky God thing, but rather the ability to see the self. Rather, the ability to see the self. God, as in the ability to see the self candidly in moments in which we are not normally able to see ourselves. How do we help this pain that causes this racism? I know that we all want the best for these races, which is why we take up the mantle of anti-racism, as you want to do the most against this biggest problem. Is the biggest problem the racism, or is the racism a projection of people's pain? A conversion of people's pain as people try to hurt others using superficial remarks from their pain people are feeling on the inside already. How do we deal with that pain? Well, where does that pain come from? Not being able to see the self, not being able to see God, not this sky God thing. But as in God, as in this ability to see the self, the ability to see the identity, the ability to see ourselves before ourselves, the ability to have a relationship with our design, the ability to see ourselves when we are not noticing ourselves, when we are candid, the ability to see that. So you can see what you truly are. So you can see what moments you are noticing that you get distracted from remembering that the tip of your tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. Candid moments like remembering those times that you, or being able to observe the times that you got distracted from remembering that there was a candle in front of everybody's lips that we're trying to not put out. Times in which you were distracted from feeling the front of your shins. How do we deal with this pain that gets projected into people using superficial remarks that ends up looking like racism, but it's actually just a projection of people's pain? How do we deal with that pain? Well, a relationship with ourselves candidly, this God thing, like noticing when the back of our tongues forget that they should be vertical. And so we start suffering a little, start projecting, as we can't see ourselves. No relationship to this God thing, the ability to see ourselves and our design. We'll be right back, but only if you remember that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. We'll be right back. My name is Herbie and this is Bag One. Remember that your arms do not rest on your ribs. And kinesthesia is that our sixth sense that allows us to feel whether we are balanced, tensed, collapsed, free and fluid. We feel our movement as well as our size. If you are really serious about this anti-racism thing, guess what? It's up to you to fix it. Just you. You and you alone. Truth hurts. We'll see you guys next time. Bye. Psych! The truth hurts though. If you are serious about this anti-racism thing, it's up to you to feel good. I repeat, if you are serious about this anti-racism thing, here on the Truth Hurts Days, we remind, here on Palgawan, today on the Truth Hurts Day, October 7, 2021. Thursday, October 7, 2021. If you are serious about this anti-racism thing, it is up to you to feel good. To feel good. And that's the truth, and I hope the truth hurts, but I hope it hurts so good. It is up to you to feel good. There's a gigantic pain out there. Common amongst human beings, there's a gigantic pain out there. A gigantic pain out there. being dealt with opioids, pornography, greed, gluttony, escapism, victimhood, entitlement. There's a gigantic pain out there in human beings as we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle on Padawan. There's a gigantic pain out there we are all relating to. Don't know what to do. Impending doom. Feels like the world might topple over. What's the point of all this? There's gigantic pain out there. What do we do with this lifetime of ours? What is the purpose of all of this? There's a gigantic pain out there. Time passing by. Gigantic pain out there. Music changing. Gigantic pain out there. People being unable to relate. Traditions being questioned and falling. There's a gigantic pain out there. Us being unable to understand ourselves, as all human beings share a history, a shared history of the world. Us being unable to feel. Us being unable to feel the benefits of any of the progress that we've made as human beings as we continue to suffer physically, trying to cover it up with addiction. Opioid addiction, escapism addiction, pornography addiction throughout the world. There's a gigantic pain out there. Always right now, there's a gigantic pain out there as human beings are suffering, having no way to overcome this suffering other than indulging in food, travel, other people, sex, food, exotic foods, expensive foods, overly exuberant foods, overly exuberant Twitter attention, all of it. There's a gigantic pain out there we're covering. One of the ways it ends up butting its head, superficial insults, when we cannot deal with this internal pain. There's a gigantic pain out there as we are stretching our self-awareness on the Truth Hurts Day on Pal Go On. There's a gigantic pain out there as human beings are suffering. Abandonment issues, feeling like we are not good enough, feeling like we do not have enough money, not being the best at our game, not having the love of our life. There's gigantic pain out there, not feeling like we can get the love that we feel like we deserve, not being able to show the love that we want to our family, not being able to communicate and understand the messages from our own family. There's a gigantic pain out there of people being unable to wash away the feelings that arise from within from all of those crappy circumstances. There's a gigantic pain out there from being unable to feel better after heartbreak. There's a gigantic pain out there by being unable to feel better after feeling abandoned from oneself and one's family. When the family feels like they keep telling you you're not good enough, or that they're going to, or how they're going to go and judge your entire lifestyle. There's a gigantic pain out there. People feeling estranged from the people who are supposed to feeling like their safety net. And people being unable to wash away the feeling that comes from within their spirit. And what do people do when they're in pain? Hurt others. And how do we hurt others? With superficial remarks. What is a most superficial remark? Someone's race. If we care the most about people being treated unfairly by race, how do we deal with this pain that is causing people to be insulted based on race? If we are serious about helping the race plight, we see the pain, it's projected onto people in the most superficial way in order to hurt them. How do we prevent that hurt? We prevent the pain that is causing the pain. We prevent the pain that is causing people to project onto others to hurt people. If we care about stopping the hurt that is happening to people, Do we look at the hurt that is the projection, or do we look at the pain that is causing the projection? And so how do we deal with that pain? We make them feel good. We pretend there's a candle in front of their lips, in front of our lips. Lead by example, as they will follow your example, because everyone wants to feel good. We pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips, in front of my lips, that we're all trying to not put out. We remember that the tips of everybody's tongues wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, always. As we're trying to not put this candle out, remember? And I invite you, I challenge you today to not think about exhaling or inhaling. I challenge you today. I invite you and I challenge you to not think about exhaling or inhaling, but simply putting into your awareness that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And you're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling. I challenge you to think about how the tip of your tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. I challenge you to ask yourself how that feels for you. I challenge you to ask yourself how that feels for you as you remember that the back 1/3 of your tongue wants to be vertical up and down, up and down. Say it with me, even if it's just in your head. Up and down, up and down. Do we really care about the pain? Do we really care about the pain that people are suffering from racist expressions? Do we really care about the pain that is caused to people, to all of us? Do we really care about the pain that is caused to all of us from racist expressions? Then do we look at the racist expressions, which are projections of people's pain? As we know that people try to attack surface level, dehumanizing traits of people when they're in pain in order to hurt people. Do we really care about the pain that is caused by racist expressions? And do we look at the racist expressions that are projections, or do we look at the pain that is causing the projections? And stop it at the source. And how do we deal with that pain? Strengthen our relationship with ourselves, our ability to see ourselves candidly. When do we forget that the tips of our tongues want to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth? When do we forget that there's a candle in front of everybody's lips that they're trying to not put out? When do we stop feeling the front of our shins? When do we forget that the backs 1/3 of our tongues are vertical up and down, up and down? Can we see those moments? Do we want to stop racism? Are we serious about stopping racism? Then it's up to you and you alone. But all you have to do is feel good. So the truth might hurt, but maybe it hurts so good. You're not anti-racist. It's not about race. More about that candle. More about anchoring the tip of the tongue to the back. Feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. Hope you're allowing all of these words to go in one ear and out the other, as we are just holding on to the meaning and not the object, stretching our self-awareness like a muscle every morning, every weekday morning. I want to thank you so much, whether you came from YouTube, whether you somehow came from Twitch, even though we do not have that ability to right now on this specific episode, but we are definitely on there. Whether you are on DLive, whether you found out about Pagawan through a friend, whether you found out through Twitter, whether you found out about us through Instagrams or TikTok, I want to say thank you so much. I want to say thank you so much for being here. I hope we gave you something to think about. I hope you take us up on that challenge of pretending there's a candle. I hope you take us up on that challenge of holding my hand today. I hope you take us up on that challenge of interlocking your fingers with me in your awareness today by placing our awareness on the same dang elements of the human design. And with that, I invite you to say it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Say it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Say it with me. Wherever you are, the weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. One more time, if you would, please say it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Thank you for joining us on the Truth Hurts Day. You know what that means? That means today's Thursday. Which Thursday? October 7th, 2021. It is 7:12 a.m. I hope you have a fantastic morning. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope we see you tomorrow. And if not, we will see you next week. Tomorrow is Freedom Friday. Thank you for joining us here today on the Truth Hurts Day on Pago One. This was not about racism, or more about the candle. My name is Herbie, and this has been Pago One. See you next time, guys. But only if you remember that there's a candle in front of everybody's lips that we're trying to not put out.